Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to OAA Now. I'm Sammy Taramina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blogger of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts of Between Terminus on Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome our friends watching on Oxford Community Television and also those watching on YouTube. Today we got two guests here on today's podcast. We got the Double O Trophy, which is here, making its usual appearance as always here, and also we got OTV's football preview show, Lake Orion football preview show host, Between Terminus host, and also History Now host Anthony Taramina here.
Hello,
Anthony,
Sam,
welcome.
how are you?
I'm hanging in there. You?
Wonderful.
We got three main stories to talk about today. Of course, we have Anthony's insight on the upcoming football season, and also we got the fashion statements of football. Who are my 10 best and who are my 10 worst? And also we got what was going on. The main story around here, of course, is what was going on at Southfield. We got some new inside information about that situation. Of course, Kevin Dietz of WDIV Channel 4 released his a story about the whole situation, and a lot of damning evidence that came aboard here in the Southfield situation. As we mentioned a few weeks ago, when looking at the situation, is Southfield that the school board renegated on its reneged its pledge to Jamie Gens and gave the job to Michelle Marshall. Now we're finding out that it was the Southfield Lathrop parents that intervened and changed the and wanted Michelle Marshall as their coach. Now, what do you think about this?
Well, it's a sad situation all around. The interview process, I don't think was properly handled. My question I have to ask is, who has the power and the authority to make hirings and firings? Is it the athletic department, or is it the athletic department, particularly athletic director, or the school board?
Well, when you look at the decision-making process, of course, this was a decision made by the athletic director to name, and the committee to name Gintz the head coach originally. Gintz was getting his team ready for the camp, getting his team ready. The girls seemed to get along, but
They were participating in
camps. They were getting along, and then all of a sudden, you look at this situation now, and it's saying to yourselves, what in the blue heck am I doing?
Well, I mean, here's the situation that it's just, as I said, it's a sad situation all around. You've got Southfield and Southfield's parents wanting Jamie Gens as their coach. You got Southfield Lathrop and their parents wanting Michelle Marshall as their coach. The biggest victim in all this is the players. But the reality is the Southfield School District should have looked at based on merit, they should not have looked at it based on gender, which was the reasoning for their decision to reconsider.
Well, let's look at gender here for a minute. Let's look at gender here for a minute. Of course, okay. You look at a lot of the claim was there that the coaches, male coaches were coaching football and boys basketball. But you look at football, Tim Conley came over. He coached at Southfield a year ago. And then you look at Mike Aver. He's coached at both schools before. Yep. And then you look at this situation here. I mean, the gender part of things is basically saying that this is what Lathrop parents are claiming, that they would do much better if a female was in power in coaching his team. Now, we're not questioning Marshall's record. She's got a good pedigree. She's won a state championship. But when you look at what Gintz has done in the last 2 years of that team, building a combined record of 40-4, how in the blue heck did he get ripped off?
Here's the problem. they base their decision based off gender and not off of merit. If they had based it off of merit, then you have to look at Michelle Marshall's pedigree. She has a state championship. She has taken the Chargers to more successful. The Chargers have had much more successful seasons than the Blue Jays have. Even though Southfield has had 2 very successful seasons, they should have looked at merit had they instead of gender. I mean, if they had just looked at merit, if they based it off merit, then it's clear Michelle should have been the coach because based off of merit, but they did not. They looked at the situation that when they reconvened, they concluded that that they based it off of gender, and that's the one thing you cannot base a hiring off of is gender, because you've got a lot of males that do coach
and
lady
you got a lot of
basketball
successful
teams,
males
and you
that
have a
have
lot
coached.
of successful coaches that coach lady basketball teams. You look at Warren Cousineau's. Their coach is a man. He won the state championship with for the girls basketball team over at Warren Cousineau. You look at
Detroit Martin Luther King. Their coach is a male. You know what I mean? And they're successful. It's looking like this is gonna be basically
that should not be based on
it
gender.
It should be based on gender.
It should be based on merit, and if it's based on merit, then Michelle should have got the job anyways. And from the looks of it, you cannot fault either coach. I mean, both coaches are very successful, but track record has stated that Michelle has a better track record than Jamie, even though the athletic department went with Jamie at first because it concluded, I think more than likely, why they based it off of the ability to build a program. Southfield has a freshman team. They have a JV team. They had a varsity team. So they probably based
too.
Lathrop did have a JV team. They had a varsity team, but they didn't have a freshman team. And a lot of that, I think, was based off of the numbers. Now, I'm not saying Michelle can't build a freshman team. I think she would prefer.
She will have the numbers now because she's got.
Yes, but
you're in a school district with 25,000 kids.
I think that they looked at based on the ability to build a program, and the Southfield Athletic Department concluded that Jamie probably was in a position to build the program, but they should have also looked at merit, and Michelle clearly has the merit of as far as building teams and also encouraging kids to come play for them. And both of them are very, very different coaches. What I mean by that is Michelle focuses more on she is an AAU coach, but she's also can transition to be a high school coach, very successful one at that as well. And it's just the way the scheduling is built. It's how the scheduling is built. It seems like Lathrop prefers more tournaments,
right,
whereas Southfield probably prefers more regular season, more like the typical playing the typical OAA type of games. Whereas Lathrop's probably more of tournaments. But you can't blame Lathrop for that either.
Well, when you look at what the impact is going to be now for
the biggest losers in all this is
the biggest losers are the players. But when you look at the situation now, when you have this is virtually a team that is basically mostly Southfield kids. Of course, but Lathrop had their best player back in Deja Church.
Yes.
How do you think that that's going to gel now? That Church now has to carry some of these girls who have not virtually played a game in the red division, and when they get into district time, they might have to deal with Detroit Martin Luther King in the regional.
Well, I mean, it's a growing process. One thing I wish that would have happened is that Michelle and Jamie should have come together and just sit down and discuss. Okay, what do we want? What's best for the program? Who is what's best for the program? And that's the hardest thing when you have a merger is, you've got 2 very, very successful coaches. You've got Michelle at Lathrop and Jamie at Southfield. And you've got a situation where, you have to choose one or the other. And what I don't understand is why they couldn't sit down, they couldn't compromise and do what's best for the program, what's best for the girls, instead of I feel like the athletic department at Southfield, they dropped the ball here. Not just the athletic department, but the school board. The Southfield school board really dropped the ball in terms of having to go back, reconvene, and
but who made the decision to do that? Who made the decision? Was it the school board itself?
You're probably gonna be looking at the Southfield school board in terms of that situation, because if my knowledge was right, the Lathrop parents complained to the school board.
Yeah, but are they to blame for this?
Who, the parents?
The parents of Lathrop.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, because anytime you have a merger of two successful programs, you're going to have division. And in this case, it was the preference. I don't think they should have based the decision off gender. I just don't think they should have based the decision off gender or any other form of situation that you have.
Race or...
It's just you should not, that you should base it upon merit. But
right.
What I think happened was it was kind of this was going to be a very, very strong topic, and a topic that's still not over yet.
Well, when you look at
the school board still got to approve of the decision.
Right, they still got to approve it. But here's the thing. But a lot of people I've talked to saying this has been an awful, awful situation. And
well, it's being very reflective upon the Southfield Athletic Department and also the Southfield School Board. It's very reflective of what they think, and that tends to ask my question: who should be making the decision to hire and fire people? Hire and fire coaches in this case. Should it be the Southfield School Board, or should it be the Southfield Athletic Department? I've always felt the athletic director should be the one that makes a decision to hire and fire somebody. But it sounds like that they went to the Southfield School Board and they did an advisory board with the Southfield School Board. And so I think that decision needs to be on the advisory board. And the fault needs to be the advisory board, the Southfield School Board. It's an embarrassing subject for the Southfield School District.
Okay, now let's go to Jamie Gens here. Lawsuit. Does this have a lawsuit in the making here with what is going on in this case?
Well, it's tough to speculate with what's going to happen. I know that the Southfield School District offered Jamie an assistant coaching position, even though he wants to be the head coach. The question is, did Southfield schools hire someone based off gender, or did they hire someone based off merit? That's the question that's going to be the situation. I mean, should the athletic director be the one that makes the decision to hire someone or fire someone? And it sounded like the athletic director hired Jamie to be the coach, and there was it's not good all around. So
yeah, but does Jamie Gens does he got legal ground for a lawsuit against the Southfield School Board and the Southfield?
If he pursues it, it's possible. But I mean, the thing is, even if it, I still think Michelle will still be the coach. The worst thing that should happen is you don't want to have distractions. I mean, and I give Michelle a lot of credit for, she responded to the Kevin Dietz story with her Facebook post, wanting to focus on building the team for this season. This has the potential to be a really big distraction for
this
Southfield.
Could be. When you look at the situation, this might be. Because when you look at the situation here with basically, it's a different and contrasting styles, as you know. But when you look at the possibility, let's go back to another situation. Of course, this occurred at Hazel Park a few years ago with Jerry Fear.
Yep.
With what, do you think now that this could get so ugly that...
Well, with the Jerry Fear situation, for those of you guys who don't know, what happened was Hazel Park tried to remove Jerry as their boys basketball coach, and she ended up suing based off of gender discrimination and was able to be successful, win their lawsuit, and retain her job as coach.
Okay, now there's Glintz, Judge Jamie Glintz. Can he sue under gender discrimination, the Southfield School Board? Can he sue?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, it's very hard to speculate. I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know for sure what's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of things have been under closed doors. And I don't really... I mean, the biggest losers in all this is the players. And the players need coaching stability as much as possible. And what I think should happen is... Michelle and Jamie need to sit down. They need to discuss, okay, what's best for the program, and if who knows if it goes to court. I mean, this could be a first time. This could
go to court where a judge
if it does.
If it goes to court,
do you really want a judge to decide who the next Southfield A&T?
No, you really don't want to. But here's the thing:
that's going to be reflective on. I mean, no, that could be reflective if this goes to court, and I don't know if it's going to go to court. But, I mean, the reality is there's got to be some compromise.
Do you see it going to court?
I mean, it could happen. We'll see. I mean, you can't say no on this situation. You can't say yes on the situation, but we'll have to see how it goes.
I mean, well, everything right now, the school board has not approved it, as you said.
Right.
But... Can you just imagine?
But this is very bad for the Southfield School District.
This is very bad for the Southfield School
District. The Kevin Dietz story makes them look very, very bad. It's a very sad situation all around. And you can't fault the coaches. You can't fault the players. This is just a messy situation when you have two schools that merge. Especially, you had something like this happen with You've had similar situations happen, like the situation in Hazel Park. You had the situation with Pontiac and Royal Oak and Bloomfield Hills when they merged. I mean, you had all those messes, and it was, it's just a sad thing about when schools merge. You have to choose between two really, really good mentors, two really, really good role models for the girls. And
what do you think about this statement? What do you think about this statement? Of course. The Lathrop parents said that Marsha would be a great influence to females.
She has been a very good influence for females. She's been a really good role model for females. And you can't deny her track record. You can't deny that she's pushed for the best. She pushes you to do your very best. And you can't deny that. But she is like a mother figure to the kids. And the kids that I've seen that have come out of Lathrop, playing for her, knowing her, I've even talked to her quite a bit of times. She is very, very classy. She's very respectful. You know that as well as I do. She's also, she's very respectful, and you don't get that. All she wants is what's best for her kids. And she does have that mother figure. Is she tough? Yes, but she also wants what's best for her kids, and I think that's why you get a lot of the parents saying that she would be a good role model for those kids. But it'll be very interesting because the Southfield parents and the Southfield girls feel the same way for Jamie.
Okay, the next question I have is, what happens if Marshall does get the coaching gig? Do you see some Southfield girls transferring out?
That's going to be a good question. I don't know for sure. I think if she does get it, I think it'd be very important for Michelle to include coaches from Southfield, because you want to make this transition as easy as possible for the girls. So it would make some sense to incorporate and include some of the Southfield coaching staff to further help and further enhance, because at the end of the day, it's what is best for Southfield Arts and Tech, what's best for their kids, what's best for their students. And you take one staff and you put it with all of them, you take one staff, like say for example, you take the Lathrop staff and you put it in. They coach, the JVs and varsities and the freshmen. I mean, that can't happen. You got to incorporate some of the Southfield coaches as well, and you want to make the transition as smooth as possible. And I think that if they do that, I don't think the kids from Southfield are going to leave. They're going to merge and incorporate their style with within Michelle's system. I just think it's got to be a Michelle and Jamie have got to sit down and discuss what's best for Southfield Arts and Tech.
And then, of course, you look at the final thoughts here. Of course, when you look at the situation surrounding
they do have to have a freshman team.
They do have to have a freshman team, yes. They're playing in a very tough division, the red division, when we have teams like Stony Creek, Clarkston in that division, North Farmington, Rochester Adams. I mean, you look at what Southfield has going forward. They can't let this bother them, but I think now this might have to change some policy regarding what coaching process with Southfield. Now, football at Southfield, Tim Conley's done a very good job of just putting some Lathrop coaches in his staff. But what do you think this does now for the Southfield School Board?
It's a reflection on the school district, I think. It's a really bad reflection. It was going to be very difficult anyways. Personally, I thought that it should have been Michelle in the first place because of that I based it upon merit. I based it upon she's got a state championship. She's taken several Charger teams to regionals, to quarterfinals, to state finals. I think that this really puts the Southfield School District in a very, very negative light, very bad light, saying that, they made a decision to hire a coach, but then they backtracked and, hired the other one. And, it's really, really tough. But I think the two head coaches, Michelle and Jamie, have got to sit down and they got to discuss what's best for the Southfield program. And I think you can see Michelle is really trying to really start to move on and try to incorporate her style, her format into the program, and trying to not have this be a distraction for the players, which I believe is a very, very good move as well. And but I mean, it's still going to get rocky, but.
This is going to get ugly because, they have the school board meetings coming up, and it's going to get ugly before it gets any better. Because, remember, the contracts have not been approved yet.
Right.
And who knows? If Glintz files a lawsuit against them, put an injunction in this case, then this could get ugly before it gets better.
See. I mean, you can't speculate what happens. It'll be interesting going forward. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
We'll keep an eye on the situation as it goes with the Southfield situation. Of course, I have the Kevin Dietz information. It's on my blog at Inside the OAA. I'm at Sammy Taramina, sammy.taramina@blogspot.com. So we'll keep an eye on the situation as we go surrounding the Southfield girls basketball situation. Of course, we'll see what happens there. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about Anthony's football intakes and also jerseys here on OA Now.
We own a Habitat home.
I love working on my Habitat home.
Soy dueño de una casa de Habitat.
My neighbor is a Habitat homeowner.
Being a Habitat homeowner has changed our lives.
My mortgage payment for Habitat is less than what I paid for rent.
Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County currently has homes available with mortgage payments lower than most rent payments. If you or someone you know needs decent and affordable housing, call 248-338-1843 or visit our website at habitatoakland.org.
Welcome back to OA Now. I'm Sammy Termina here. We got the Double O Trophy here, along with Anthony Termina. Of course, the
reason why the Double O Trophy is here, please explain.
The reason why the Double O Trophy is here, of course, Lake Orion Oxford rivalry. Football season's coming up. It's near. Of course, Lake Orion and Oxford will play week 4 this upcoming season at Lake Orion for this trophy. Of course, it's going to be an interesting matchup when you look at those two teams. Of course, Anthony, since you're here today, we got your intake heading into the season. We're going to go from blue, white, and red first. Of course, you were very vocal about the divisions this year, and it's not. And you're right, it's not balanced this year heading into the year. And your take on it, it's really difficult when you look at the enrollment divisions for the first two divisions, and then the blue division basically is like a division where it's based on your merit and performance.
Well, my approach to this is I'm extremely disappointed how the divisions were arranged. I felt like that for those of you guys who don't know, in the OAA, the football divisions are usually approved by the principals and not the athletic directors or the coaches, though the coaches and athletic directors make recommendations. I think that I would call this a
1-year thing this year.
It's a 1-year thing, which I like. So they'll go back to the board and they will to the drawing board, and they'll come up with divisions at least for next year, especially because there was a lot of curiosity about several other schools coming in due to realignment. And but I truly was very disappointed. I did notice that football they are attempting to bring back natural rivalries somewhat. I'm a big supporter of natural rivalries, and I think that the natural rivalries is something that's very important for for football, because as I've always believed that they draw in the most money, most seats for revenue purposes. And I just, my feelings on a couple of teams in division is not very flattering. I still don't think Southfield Arts and Tech should be in the red. Not because of necessarily because of the enrollment, but because Southfield's natural rivals, Oak Park, Harrison, they're all in the white. Whereas Rochester Adams is a team that I feel should be in the red, with going against Lake Orion, going against Clarkston, going against Oxford, also going against Stony Creek, instead of scheduling Stony Creek as a cross, or as a non-league, or as a crossover in this case, because it's going to be a crossover. They should play them in league, and it's and I'm very much I very much would like to see that. Also, I've been very vocal on transfers. Mm-hmm. Particularly with several players going to other OA schools. I feel like that should not happen.
But when you look at the transfers this year, of course, Lathrop closing and all that, and you kind of gotta have a feeling though with some of those players going to West Bloomfield and Grove, such as those. I know they got a lot of Lathrop transfers coming over there.
Well, I mean,
they just want a chance to play.
I understand that. I understand that completely. And I know you brought up a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, Southfield actually had to cut football players.
Yeah, that did not make me happy.
That's something that should not ever happen.
That should not happen.
It's a situation to where, I don't like when kids transfer, especially you've got kids transfer from Detroit to, obviously to the northern schools, mostly for athletic reasons, not for academic reasons. And I think that's a very bothersome topic for me. And then also seeing that you've got schools that are unashamed of, these kids solely are coming in for athletic reasons and not for academic reasons. And, I get that feeling, especially when you've got two of the teams in the division. I'm not going to mention who, but I have, I get very frustrated because I just want to have a competitive level playing field. And I feel like that doesn't necessarily happen.
When you look at the divisions, though, of course, going in, let's look at the blue division first. This is a division where you have 9 teams, unbalanced scheduling. Not a lot of teams are playing each other. Everybody's not playing everybody. I mean, when you look at
it was very smart of Berkeley and Royal Oak to play each other week 9. That is a natural rivalry, and they were not technically scheduled to play each other this year. But it was very smart of both schools to play each other week 9. That is a natural rivalry. That should happen on a consistent basis. And the fact that that was not going to be on the schedule without it being a non-league game, that would have been a shame because both Royal Oak and Berkeley look forward to playing each other, and it is a natural rivalry. And I'm glad that they're playing each other week 9.
What games are you looking forward to in the blue this year? What games? What games interest you?
I'm very curious to see how Bloomfield Hills, how Troy, and how Rochester do in the blue. I think you can see some very balanced games between Troy and Avondale.
Avondale's got a new
Rochester, I can see Troy and Berkeley being competitive. I can see Troy and Royal Oak being competitive. Also, Troy and Rochester are going to play each other. And also, you can't forget, Troy almost beat Bloomfield Hills last year. I'm not very happy with Bloomfield Hills being up or being down in the blue. I feel like Bloomfield Hills should probably have been either they should have stayed in the red or moved down the white. I don't think that they should have, moved that far down to the blue.
But Dan Laurie has had a lot of success down the blue at last.
He has. He has. That's not denying it. But the reality is you've had issues that existed between you've had the smaller schools like Pontiac, Ferndale, Hazel Park, won't play the bigger schools like Orion Clarkston and Oxford and so forth. And you've got, and not to mention you've got the travel issues now that there's a lot more parity in football. And so now you're having the issues with travel as well. And that as I said, and in terms of when I mentioned about realignment when last time I was here, I made mention that everything starts with football. So
who do you think?
But I think I'm very curious to see how Hazel Park will do. There's a lot of talk going around at Hazel Park about they have potential to be good, but we'll have to see.
This is a program. Hazel Park's a program that's 1-26 in their last 27 games. That's sad.
I know.
I mean, when you look at, and then they got to play. Everything for them depends on that week 1 game against Warren Fitzgerald. Because you look at this Hazel Park team, they've got questions.
Well, I'm also curious how Avondale's going to do with their new coach. Avondale's usually very, very competitive. I'm very curious to see how, and I'm also very curious to see how the smaller schools, I'm particularly talking about like Berkeley, Royal Oak, Avondale, how they're going to compete with Bloomfield Hills, Troy, and Rochester. I think you're going to see some very competitive games between those schools.
Who do you think is favored in the blue division?
Who do I think? I think right now you have to look at Bloomfield Hills because Bloomfield Hills
Berkeley?
Bloomfield Hills has got more size in terms of school size, in terms of the kids that come out and play. But Berkeley's right there too.
I mean,
because Berkeley
went to the regional final last year.
Yeah,
they
but Berkeley
knocked off Slathrop. They knocked off Southfield.
They lost a lot, though.
No, they didn't. They had their quarterback back, their wide receivers back, and they got a good line back. This is a team I think you got to keep an eye on heading in the year. I think Berkeley beats Bloomfield Hills this year.
Well, I also can't forget Bloomfield Hills does have some tough games on their schedule. They got to play Stony Creek. They got to play Notre Dame Prep. They got to play Lake Orion. So it's not going to be an easy road for Bloomfield Hills. But I would say right now, just because of size, right now they are probably the favorite. But you cannot count out Berkeley.
What about Troy?
Troy's going to be right there. I just think that Troy's going to be...
They got a lot back.
They got a lot back from last year. I think that Troy's going to be right there. Troy will compete. I think that they got a tough Walled Lake Central team week 1. They got to play Athens week 9. Sorry, Colt fans, but Bob Dowd's going to be dancing week 9. Troy's going to return quite a bit, but you can't, you have to wonder. But also Troy does play Country Day.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not going to be an easy week for Troy either. And it's been very challenging for those blue teams having to find non-league games.
But when you look at those teams, it's going to be
Notre Dame Prep's been a Bryce.
Notre Dame Prep's virtually they're benefiting from playing these blue teams since they're an independent this year.
That's true.
From the Catholic League. Let's go to the white division. Of course, this is a division where, of course, as you said, Southfield now up in the red.
Yeah.
But you bring down
Groves
comes up to the blue. What is your thoughts on Groves this year?
I think their schedule is almost the term of crazy.
Yep.
You got to play. You play West Bloomfield week 1, which is not easy. You got to play Southfield. You've got to play. You got to play Saline week 9.
Schedule. I think Oak Park. Yeah, they got to play Oak Park too. Adams,
not to mention your league.
Adams,
not
Oak
to mention
Park,
your league
Harrison.
games. Oak Park, Adams, Harrison. I mean, that's not going to be easy.
Yikes!
That is very brutal for Groves. I think Groves might have to win 2 or the 3 just to get into the playoffs.
Do you see Groves making the playoffs this year?
Sadly, I do not.
Because of that schedule.
The schedule is just too brutal. I mean, they're going to be a fine team. They're a good team, but I mean that schedule's just too brutal.
Another team a lot of people talking about is Farmington. You look at this team here. I don't know if Farmington wins a game this year. They got Wall Lake Western week 1.
Yeah, that's a loss.
And then their week 2 game, they got to play Harrison and Oak Park week 2 and 3. If they don't win the C-home game, do you see them going winless?
That's very, very possible.
I mean, the Farmington Cup, last year, the Falcons gave that game away, and basically, they were up 2 touchdowns, and they lost that one late,
Very possible.
So.
I mean, they lost their quarterback, transferred to Saline, so it's very possible.
And then, who do you think is favored in the white?
I think you got to give it to Oak Park. Oak Park returns a very good quarterback, sophomore quarterback.
They have DeJuan Mathis, yep.
They've got, I think Oak Park is, they're building something over there under Greg Carter. You cannot count.
Great man, too.
You cannot count out Harrison. You can never ever count out a John Harrington team. Also, Adams returns a lot, too, but.
Adams is a team that's been in turmoil for a couple of years. When you look at Tony Petrino's team, Kyle Wood's a senior.
Yep.
They got Vincent Gray on that team.
Yep.
They got a good line coming back.
Yep.
But this is a team that really Oak Park's had their number. They're 0-4 against Oak Park since 2012.
Yeah.
And then you look at this Adams team.
Harrison.
You look at this Adams team. They have to do something this year, because if they don't do something this year, do you think it could be possible Tony Petrino's job's on the line?
No, I don't think his job security is still safe. He's got a state championship. Anytime you got a state championship, your job is pretty secure. You look at his schedule. He's got Oak Park. He's got Harrison. Stony Creek is a very beatable game for Adams. Adams could beat Stony Creek.
Rochester,
we know beat Rochester.
Yeah, they'll beat Rochester. Rochester's not won over Adams since '96.
But you look at Adams' schedule. Adams has got to beat Groves. That's the thing. Adams has got to beat Groves, because you look at Adams can beat Seaholm. Adams can beat Farmington. Adams can beat North Farmington. Oak Park and Harrison, even if they're losses, they're not going to kill them. But then the Clarkston game, week 9, is going to be very.
Well, when you look at the game last year with Adams and North Farmington, that was a 7-0 game that Adams lost.
Yeah, but North Farmington lost a lot of people from last year.
Yes, they did.
So,
but I'm saying to you, Adams got to be careful here of North Farmington. They also got to be careful of Groves. Especially Groves.
Groves, yes, but North Farmington.
I think that game's at Groves, isn't it? I think that's at Groves.
Check.
Yeah, I could check that, but
I would say Oak Park's a favorite. I'd say Harrison is 2. I have to give the nod. Adams is 3.
Do you think Oak Park's got a chance knocking off Detroit Cass Tech week 1?
It's gonna be a very daunting assignment to do. Anything is possible, but it's gonna be a very daunting task. Cass Tech is probably favored to win the Division I championship this year, and but anything could happen. Anything is possible.
And of course, Harrison. Of course, they got to play East Kentwood week 1.
Another not easy matchup.
Do you think Harrison can get their revenge in the big house in Ann Arbor against East Kentwood?
Certainly possible. Harrison has a shot to. Harrison's got a shot. They've got they do returns in pieces. East Kentwood is not what they used to be last year, so we'll have to see.
And then let's go to the Red Division. Of course, this is a lot of interesting games week 1. Of course, you look at your inside, of course, we know about Southfield, but let's look at a team like Oxford. Of course, this is a team that really is interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, Bud Riley's team, they were defensively, they were a complete disaster last year. What's your thoughts on the Wildcats?
I think that you're looking at Oxford's got a dual threat quarterback this year.
Yep.
And
Fleming.
Fleming, yes. Oxford's got they've got a running game. They love to play bud ball. They're gonna be a very, I would say the Red is pretty balanced in terms of as far as like the parity. I would say, and I've been open about this. I feel like Lake Orion, Oxford, Athens, and Stony Creek have got the shaft of all this because you've got, you're dealing with Clarkston, Southfield, West Bloomfield, something similar to that of the of back in the 2002 through 2006 time frames where you had Lake Orion, Clarkston, Adams, and Harrison all in one division. So I tend to feel like do I expect Oxford to compete? Yes. Oxford was very young last year. Oxford learned a lot from last year. I do expect them to compete this year, and I think that they'll be okay.
What about Bob Lancey's team at Stony Creek?
Stony Creek is, well, one thing about Bob Lancey loves defense.
Yep.
He loves defense.
Guru.
He's a defensive guru. For going from his days at Utica Eisenhower, when Stony Creek got a big steal off him when they got him. But it'll be interesting to see how he does that first year. But long term, they're going to be just fine.
Won't talk much about Lake Orion because you got them for
their preview show coming up with Lake Orion,
so
yes.
You'll get more of an insight on the Dragons there. Yeah. But Clarkston.
I want to talk about Troy Athens first.
Oh, yeah, Troy Athens. Let's go with Athens.
Troy Athens, they've got a big line back. They've got Stark is back, their quarterback.
Joey Stark.
So then they got that big line back. They got a running game.
Right. Passing game's a little questionable.
They're comparing. There's some small talk about 2011, the team from 2011 at Athens, but
that was the last
Athens
team to make the playoffs.
Athens is looking to make the playoffs, and they
first
feel like
game
this
with
team,
Warren Mott's going to be tough because
Warren
Mott's got a good quarterback in Noel Dean. Lauren Dean, he's a good quarterback. He beat Macomb Dakota last year.
That'll be a good matchup, good test for Athens to see where they're at the first. And I said for the Reds got to win their games. The Reds got to their week 1 games.
We'll go more insight on the Red here. Of course, we got next team here to talk about Clarkson. You got West Bloomfield and then Southfield. We know about Southfield.
With Clarkston, it's going to be the Mike Vogel show, but it's
Michael Flugel.
Flugel, sorry for that. You got the Flugel show at and you've got Clarkston's always going to be around. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be tough. They always got the tough line, good wide receivers. Mitch Heaton's back, which is a big deal for Clarkston.
I think he's gone.
We'll have to check.
I think he's gone.
I mean, Clarkston's still going to be around.
Right.
I mean, it's Clarkston. They're still going to be around. They got a tough week 1 with Lapeer.
Right.
Do
you think they have a chance to beat Lapeer?
I think they do. It's in the big house. They do have a shot to beat Lapeer. I don't. Though Lapeer is returning a lot. Lapeer is pretty solid. Mm-hmm. I do think that Clarkston will be. They'll be right there. If not, they'll probably be favored to win the division, even over Southfield.
Speaking of, let's go with West Bloomfield. Okay, you got the Lakers.
West Bloomfield lost
new quarterback and Bryce Beasley. They did lose a lot a year ago. Of course, you got
their athletes. They still got athletes.
Right,
they still
got Garrett Wynn, Davian Johnson, the running game. Wynn will play the slot. But when you look at West Bloomfield, this is a team that really's got
their line play. Their line play is
the key. If their line play is good, they'll be fine. If not, they're going to struggle.
Their line play is key. I think that for West Bloomfield, if they can fix their line play and their defense, because they only got really 2 back on defense, so I think that if West Bloomfield can fix those things, they'll be fine. But I just think that West Bloomfield will be, right now they're the third place team for a reason because of the athletes they have back. And also, you can't deny the impact that Trishan Jackson had on that team and what West Bloomfield's going to lose with him. And, I mean, it'll be an adjustment period.
And then, of course, got Southfield.
We already talked about
Southfield. And then, of course, what's your games you're looking forward to in the Red this year? What's your games you're looking forward to, your Week 1 games?
The Week 1 games, I'm looking for, obviously, Lake Orion, Chippewa Valley. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a huge game.
Oxford and Romeo is going to be a big game.
That's got 2011 over it.
Because Romeo's the defending state champions. They're going to the blue turf.
I think I've seen this somewhere before.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've known the stories of when defending state champions go to Oxford Week 1, it's usually doesn't go well. Clarkston going to Lapeer, that'll be a fun game.
That's at the big house.
That's at the big house, yep. Southfield playing King, that's going to be a war.
Especially with the passing of Daryl Hazel. Deborah Harville, you know what I mean? Of course.
God bless him.
That's going to be an emotional charge.
It's going to be an emotional game.
You know what game I'm looking forward to? Warren Mott, Troy Athens.
That'll be a fun game.
That's going to be an
That'll
game.
test Athens and it'll also test Warren Mott. That'll be a good game. But I mean,
Troy Athens has had trouble stopping option teams, and Warren Mott runs an option.
Right. And also you look at the Red wins all their games. Look what happened with the MAC Red last year. I think the OAA Red wins all their games Week 1. It's going to make the OAA Red that much of a stronger conference.
I think it will make it a stronger conference if the Red
got to win all their games.
They got to win the games. They got to win the big time games. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But if there's any type of game that's key, I believe there's a lot of key games in that slate, which is not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy, but they weren't meant to be easy. That's
they
why
weren't meant to be easy.
Week 1.
So, but this division's not going to be an easy division.
No, it's one of the more brutal divisions I've seen.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens coming up. Okay, now when we come back, we're going to talk about our the best uniforms and the worst uniforms here on OAA Now.
Prescription drug abuse is a national epidemic. The new in way to obtain drugs is through parents' or grandparents' medicine chests. Removing prescriptions from your cabinet is the best way to keep drugs out of the hands of our young people. We've got to work together to protect our teens, our seniors, and our environment. Clean out your medicine cabinet today. Please participate in Operation Medicine Cabinet and drop off your unwanted or expired prescriptions at one of our law enforcement drop-off sites in Oakland County. We can't ignore this situation anymore.
Welcome back to OAA Now. Of course, I'm Sammy Terramina here. I got the double O trophy here and Anthony Terramina here. Of course, our final subject, of course, is let's talk about some jerseys. Of course,
again, I don't understand this conversation, but go ahead.
But of course, I wrote in a blog article just a few days ago about football uniforms, and I think there's some uniforms that look great, and there's some that just look. I got some real concerns, but Anthony, do you have a jersey combination you like?
I think I loved Lake Orion's road jerseys last year in terms of the white and green. White and green.
Why?
I don't like the white look. I like the white green look.
Well, why? Give me a reason why. Because I wrote in my blog that Lake Orion's road uniforms were just absolutely
I like
awful.
The white green look.
The Nike looks, the plain white greens, the plain white jerseys with the plain white jerseys. You know what I mean?
I like the white
without
green look.
Without the green V-neck. Come on, that's terrible.
I like the green V-neck.
I like the green V-necks. I just don't like the current jerseys, the current white.
But
jerseys.
I like the white green look. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The white green look.
Do you think they should bring back the green line pant look if they do that?
Sure.
You know, I think that make a lot more sense, but
I know
think
one
last
thing
year's look was a complete disaster.
Well, I know one jersey combo you're against is Adams' look, is the brown and the yellow.
Their home uniform.
I like their home uniform.
Why?
Because it's who they are. Their colors, it's who they are.
I mean, there's a lot of looks I don't like. Of course, the North Farmington home jersey I'm not a huge fan of. When you look at the white...
Talk to Mockney about that one.
When you look at that jersey, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Talk to Mockney about that.
I'm not a huge fan of that. But, you know, there's a couple of uniforms that I'm not a fan of. Of course, What's your thoughts on Southfield's uniform combinations this year?
To be fair, I don't.
You've seen them.
I mean, I respect the colors should be blue. Their main color should be blue. Their secondary color should be red. Other than that, it's
they got a white helmet this year.
Yeah, white helmet. Other than that, I've not really seen too much of Southfield.
But what? Let's look at Oxford. Of course, last year Oxford changed their jerseys a little bit. Of course, the road jersey we know I think's been I don't know what
sticking with the yellow pants look like Bud Rowley.
Well, remember they had that one game in 2012 where they wore white pants, and that was a complete disaster.
They haven't worn that.
What's your thoughts about Oxford's look, especially because they changed home uniforms last season?
Well, Oxford's got that the blue top and the yellow pant look. I mean, that's their typical traditional look. It's always been that blue and that yellow.
Well, they had nameplates in the back. 2 years ago, they had nameplates in the back.
Right.
Now they just went ball plain.
Right. And then, Clarkston going yellow.
Clarkston design with yellow jerseys and blue pants. I'm a little skeptical about that.
Right.
But they go white on the road. You know what I mean? So.
But I don't like their whites. I think they should go white yellow.
You think they should bring back the yellow pants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
The white blue one was horrible.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Troy Atlas's combinations? That's been a complete fashion disaster.
Athens should just stick to red and probably gold.
Well, they went with
gray.
They went with the gray look last year. It was a lot better than it was last. It was a lot better with their combination the last few seasons. But when you have a white helmet, red jersey, gray pants, yikes. And then of course you look at, what jersey I like? I like Farmington's look because I'll tell you why. You think about Penn.
Is this something Sean Cotter would say?
No, but you look at the look, the Penn State look. You know what I mean? You think about it. Classic uniform, classic design.
But Farmington's not the Farmington Nittany Lions. They're the Farmington Falcons.
Yeah, but they have the classic Penn State look. You know what I mean? Do you like Harrison's look? You know what I mean?
It's always been traditional.
I like Harrison's look. I think it's a great look for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I like? I don't like Adams' current home uniform, but I love their military uniform, their alternate uniform. I
love Lake Orion's alternate uniform. They're awesome. It's awesome.
Why Orion's uniform? Why Orion's alt uniform?
I mean, it's you get excited, you get hyped, you get excited for, when they wear those. I mean, that should be your primary road jersey.
What, the home uniform?
That homecoming uniform that they wore for homecoming.
It should be their primary home jersey.
Should be their primary, yeah.
Should be interesting, though. But what about, I said this look was the best look, and I said it was Oak Park's road uniform. Have you seen Oak Park's road uniform?
When we played Oak Park in 2013?
I liked their helmet, especially when you have the white coming out the black and the helmet, and then you have the all-white look. Mm-hmm. That's a great look. I think that's that's a great look for Oak Park. You know, that's a great look. What do you think about that look?
I mean, a look is a look. Bottom line is, sometimes style can dictate. Style doesn't dictate a football game. You just got to go out there and got to win a football game.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. Of course, you can take a look at my Inside the OAA fashion statements. Of course, going on. Of course, my top 10. Of course, I said my best was Oak Park's road unis 1, Troy 2, Orion home 3, Berkeley's home 4, Harrison's home 5, Adams alt 6, Rochester's alt 7. I like their chrome uniforms Rochester wears. Farmington 8, Pontiac home uniform 9, Grove's home uniform 10. They put the green, gold, and black combination at home very, very nicely. My worst looks, Orion's road uniform 1, North Farmington's home uniform 2, Troy Athens any uniform combination 3, Oxford road uniform, Oxford's road uniform 4, Adams' home uniform 5, West Blumpia's home uniform 6, Oxford's home uniform 7, Troy's road uniform 8, Ferndale's home uniform 9, and a tie between Stony Creek's home uniform if they go white pants, and at home in Southfield, Arts and Tech's uniform combination.
You better be very careful because some of those teams would wear those uniforms against this one, against Lake Orion when we go over there.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, like a lot of them, but as I said, don't feel offended. That's what I said in the blog. Don't feel offended. You know, I know a lot of people are gonna feel offended. Of course, when you look at it here, what is your thoughts? Football season, first day of practice starts next week. What is your thoughts?
Enjoy the moment. I would say get ready for a long season. Football, a lot of times football, it's not a quick sprint. It's a marathon. It's going to be a grind. You're going to have days where you're going to be tired, worn out. You want to quit. But you got to just stick with it. Fight through it.
When you look at the season coming up, of course, what is your expectation heading in the season?
My expectation for the OA as a whole,
the league.
I'd like to see the league be stronger. I'd like to get more teams in the playoffs. I feel like the Red is extremely brutal. I think you've got 7 teams that are more than capable of getting in the playoffs had they not been playing everybody, had they not been beating each other up. I think the Blue division is, we're going to have to see. I think that that Bloomfield Hills is going to get evaluated. I think Berkeley might get evaluated in terms of potentially moving up for next year. What they're going to do with Southfield, I don't know. I believe they should still go by natural rivalries and also by travel recommendations. I think that Lake Orion and Clarkson should not have to be traveling to Southfield to play 5:30 afternoon games. I understand the security rule, but they still should not be playing 5:30 in afternoon games. I think it's going to be a pretty good season. It'll be a very competitive season. There's a lot of parity. I don't think there's competitive balance. I know you have to be very careful with competitive balance, but I just think that hopefully, and I'm biased. I am biased. I want to see Lake Orion get back in the playoffs. But I do know, too, that it's going to be a challenge. And it's going to be a challenge for everybody, especially in the Red, in terms of getting in. There's no easy path getting in for the Red.
There's no easy path, but it's going to be a very interesting road when you look at the season.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams have to travel. Of course, last season we had 2 blue teams.
But on said Southfield should not.
Right. We had 2 blue teams actually make the do very well a year ago with Berkeley, and then of course with Berkeley.
Well, yeah, you saw the blue.
Final.
Berkeley and Groves were. Berkeley and Groves were going deep in the playoffs. Realistically, I think they took advantage of playing some of the weaker teams like Pontiac and Ferndale.
Not Berkeley.
Berkeley somewhat, yeah.
They did upset Southfield. Let's not
they
forget
did
that.
upset Southfield, yeah, but Groves upset Harrison too. So it's not
true.
like and Groves was undefeated, and they should not have been in the blue last year. But it is what it is. There's no clear way to go to address the OA divisions in terms of. I would like to see football go 4 divisions, but you're gonna have to find a way to even it out. And
do you think expansion will have to do expansion?
I've always argued for expansion.
Maybe bringing a team like Novi could make a lot of sense. Balance it out.
They didn't bring Lapeer, and that was awful. You got 24, and then you're going to go back 23, and then when Harrison leaves, you go 22. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see what happens. Right now,
I'd like to see him expand, but I don't.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'd like to thank Anthony Termina for coming on for the podcast. Of course, the Double O Trophy making its usual appearance, once-a-year appearance here on the podcast. Of course, a lot of questions coming up this upcoming football season. Like, once again, to thank Anthony Termina for his football views.
Thank you.
And also enjoy
views.
And Southfield views. So enjoy the week, everybody. Good luck, and see y'all soon.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.